The next day, entering the classroom, I spotted Makoto right away. I thought about casually chatting with some of the other girls, but Makoto and Didi already made a fuss about me the other day, and though it turned out not to be that big of a problem in the end, it was still too late for me to chat up any of the other girls. Good morning, Makoto.
Ohayo, ohayo.
You must be in a good mood, too.
私も
Oh, it's just that Machida was in a good mood, too.
みちるちゃんはいつだってご機嫌でしょ
I suppose so. After saying hello and making small talk, we got to the main topic of conversation. By the way, there was something I wanted to talk to you about.
ここだとまずい
If possible, I'd like to talk somewhere else.
告白かな
Makoto jokingly said that out loud so that other people would overhear her, and then went out into the hallway. Of course, having gotten their attention, all of my classmates ended up directing glares at me. I just shrugged. Wish me luck. I chased after Makoto with people behind me cheering me on. She didn't say where we would meet up, but I had a pretty good hunch of where Makoto would be. Should have guessed it.
何が
Nothing. I just had a feeling it'd be the rooftop.
そりゃまあね裸になっても大丈夫なくらい人はいないし特に朝は
Makoto waved her hand in the air.
ホームルームまでそんなに時間ないし用事はクロちゃんのこと
I'm just gonna come right out and say this. Machudo and the others had an idea that could potentially be dangerous for Crow. You're not in league with them, are you?
ああそういうことねようやくあの3人も動き始めたんだ
Makoto sounded surprised to hear me say that. Your reaction made it quite clear that she wasn't conspiring with the others. You started to notice the change in Crow a while ago, didn't you? It was Makoto who had predicted I'd throw my own life away for someone else's sake, after all.
まさかその相手がクロちゃんになるとは思ってなかったけど
What, you were thinking it'd be you?
うんにゃ美咲ちゃんあたりだと思ってた
Though this was a serious matter, Makoto treated it carefree as ever. Something didn't seem right, but I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was. I decided to investigate a little further. Now that I know that you're not in league with them, I need to ask you this. Do you intend to try to stop me? Makoto's shoulders tensed up a little bit at my question, as if her casual, easygoing attitude had changed.
どうしようかなとは考えてたよ正直私もレイ君のことが好きだし感情と理性の問題なんだよね
Reason against emotion?
理性ではレイ君を応援したくて感情ではレイ君を止めたい
So, which of these viewpoints is the winning cut right now?
趣味の分もあるから理性かな
Your hobbies?
人気映画とかでさ出入りに向かう主人公を泣いて止めようとする女性とかいるけどあれの主人公が理性で女性が感情なんだよそういう場面で私がどっちを好きかはわかるでしょ
Alright. I understand. It was almost too easy to understand her example. Besides, didn't she give me a similar kind of example before as well? She really is into those kinds of films, I suppose. Alright, thanks. Let's just hope your reason wins out.
知的な誠ちゃんに任せて
Right. That was quite an unbelievable response she gave, but it was good enough for me. After all, homeroom was just about to start. When we returned to the classroom, all eyes were on me and Makoto. With an unshakable grin, I made a show of ostentatiously crossing my arms in front of everyone. A small commotion of voices rang out.
何これ
Not understanding the meaning behind what I'd just done, Makoto cocked her head to the side in confusion. I almost pity those poor schmucks. And And then, looking for my next prey, I messaged Mio and Masaki and asked them to lunch.
何を言っておるのだ?
Well, I was hoping Masaki would show, but it looks like she's not going to. Having eaten a sizable portion of my own lunch, I glanced around again to be sure.
美咲ちゃんは体調が悪いから外で食べるのはやめるって言ってましたけど、集まった時にもクエスチョンしてましたよね。
Well, it is how it is, I guess. I had a hunch that Masaki was fibbing about not feeling well. In fact, she must have been actively avoiding me. But she was still the only one left whom I needed to clear things up with. I was more worried about her than any of the other girls at this point, so she was clearly sulking about something.
それにしても、クロちゃんは可愛いですね。なんだ急に。いえ、なんだかこう、先輩なのに私と同じサイズなせいで親近感が湧いてしまって。それに私たちの常識とはまるで違う知識を持っているので話していて面白いのです。他のものにはないお主の察しの良さは我が輩にとっても心地よい。
You're talking about size, and wouldn't Masaki be... Oh...
あってなんですか。あって。
Whoa! I've never witnessed the likes of the death glare from Mio before.
まさしくクロさんは私たちと同じサイズなのです。透明ですね。ミユはともかく DD は我が輩より背が高いだろう。気にしないでください。イエス、そのままのクロさんでいてください。
I could see something strangely wistful in the smile they wore.
それより性格的にバランスの良い2人が揃っているから質問したいのだが。何ですか？お答えできることならば。むしろお主ら2人が最高の相手だな。片やご主人の最初の相手であり、片や言い名付けだ。
She just had to go and say that before I could stop her.
人を好きになるというのはどのようなものなのだ？それって、私はクロさんのことが好きですよ。聞き方が悪かった。男を好きになるということはお主たちにはどういうものなのだ？ What?
He was surprised, but Mio was already gazing at Crow with an intense, serious expression.
人を好きになる意味を他人に説明することはできますが、それを理解してもらうのは難しいです。それはきっと人間が一人一人ずっと問い続けていることだから。答えはありません。ただその気持ちが自分の中にあると気づいた時にはもう遅いんです。それに気づいた時が人を好きになった時です。
Mio's soft-spoken words left enough of an impact to make me completely forget about the blazing heat. She had not worded it sharply, rather she spoke with the gentleness of a clear and flowing stream. Didi had also clammed up, listening intently to Mio's effort at explaining. Then, like always, a great big smile appeared on her face.
確かにいつの間にかですね。そして止められないものです。そうか。真摯に話してくれたことに感謝する。
Crow nodded. I was a bit worried that this would end poorly, but it seemed Crow had been right to ask them for advice. Maybe I'm being overprotective of Crow. Maybe there's some kind of unconscious wish I have to want a girl to be reliant on me. If I want her to be independent, she'll need to learn how to be independent for me as well.
何を考えておるのだ？似合わぬぞ。
Crow was gazing curiously at my face. Even I think about stuff sometimes, so don't say it doesn't suit me. Crow's face was too close, so I pushed her away. Eesh. Aren't you quite the upstanding student?
もっと褒めるがよい。
Try learning about sarcasm sometime? I gave her a little flick on the forehead. then he'd decide. Babysitting is such a pain. Soon enough, school concluded for the day. Since Misaki was the last person on whose intentions I wasn't clear, I casually strolled in the direction of the first-year classrooms. I could have called or texted her, but I didn't want her to ignore or misinterpret me, so I figured a face-to-face discussion was for the best. Then?
あら、こんなところで兄様の匂いがしますが、私の望んだ幻想でしょうか。
Unfortunately, I'm the genuine article, and there's no shortage of misfortune with you around too, in more ways than one.
残念美人って愛嬌があって良いと思います。
I concur. Encountering my sister in the hallway, I gave her a pat on the head, then asked her question number. By the way, is Misaki in the classroom?
あら、美咲さんに用事でしたか。
She turned her attention towards the classroom for a moment and then turned back to me.
美咲さんなら体調が悪いと早々に帰られましたよ。
Oh, so she really wasn't feeling well.
みゆさんの言葉でですが、美咲さんは今日はずっと青い顔をされていたそうです。
I see. Well, I guess there's nothing I can do about that.
もしかしたら兄様は美咲さんの不在で放課後のあてがなくなりましたか。
Let me guess, you want me to walk home with you?
私のことをお嫌いでなければお供させてください。もしくは大好きでしたら家に帰さないでください。
I have to go home whether I like you or not.
あら、残念。
Machida smiled as she latched onto my arm.
でも初めてはやはり家がいいですわね。
Of course, that didn't happen. Once we got home, I dropped Machida off in the main building and then loafed around in my room in the annex. If I'm alone with her for too long, she'll probably get carried away. These summer days at the school are the best, especially when the sun is still out. Putting that aside, I found myself fondly remembering the days when I would rush home quickly after school to see little Machida. A happy past and a happy future. Judy and Crow weren't around, so I had nothing else to do. Tests were coming up, and even though normally I would do at least some cursory study, this time around I didn't need to study anything. Oh, that's right. I just remembered something I intended to do. Putting Crow's watch in my pocket, I stuffed every bit of tangible cash I had on me into my wallet. If I had time to kill, I needed to buy scratch tickets to save up some money. This process could only be repeated once an hour, and I had to quickly turn back time within 5 minutes every time I bought a ticket, so it kept me surprisingly busy. So, stepping out of the house's front gate, I stopped and pulled out my phone. Might as well send Misaki a message too. Heard you weren't feeling so hot, so try not to push yourself. Just relax for now so you'll feel better. And send. Maybe my message was overly serious, but this wasn't the time to be joking about things either. I expected Misaki to reply right away like usual, but there was no response. Is she sleeping or something? It would have been perfect if she'd asked me to come to visit her. But whatever, I resumed walking in the direction of the shopping district. What's happening to Misaki? Then a few hours later, I guess this makes a 3,000 yen profit. Having paid the scratch tickets at 4, 5, and 6 o'clock respectively, I verified my total gains. Since I didn't have that much money to start with, I could only make a little bit at a time, unless I ended up hitting the jackpot. Well, I'm still enjoying it. Plus, I'm already bending the rules, so I can't complain. But anyway, the sun had set at this point, so I had to get home. I wonder if Judy and Crow are nearby. Hoping that we could walk home together if they were close by, I sent both of them tests asking where they were. This time, the replies came immediately. Dee Dee was already back at the house, but Crow was on her way to Central Park. We're not together. I texted Dee Dee back. I'll be home soon. Then I texted Crow back. I'm over in the shopping district. Want to walk home with me? Once again, I got her reply very quickly. Upon reading the opposite message, I suddenly had a very bad feeling about things. I started to walk. A few steps later, I was power walking, and a few steps later, I was running. The message Crow had sent me was as follows.
岬に呼ばれたから、その後でな。
Uh-oh. By the time I got to Central Park, I was seriously out of breath. I felt an incredible chill. It was as if all the sweat on my body had evaporated in a single instant. I looked around, but I didn't see Crow or Masaki anywhere nearby. I tried to pick up the pace again, but my legs were so tired and cramped I could barely do anything more than just walk. Man, I'm out of shape for this. If I make it out of this whole dilemma with my life, I'm taking up jogging. Then, somewhere a little ways away from the plaza, two short figures in the distance caught my eye.
すまぬ。遅くなった。
Evidently, Crow just arrived herself.
いえ、急に呼び出したのは私ですから。何？メールをくれた友人の頼みだ。気にするでない。友人。
I hesitated, unsure if I should call out to them. I saw that Crow was proactively engaging Masaki in conversation, so I decided that even without me there, I could trust her.
それで、要件は何だ？ちょっと話があったんだけど。何でも聞くがよい。なんか堂々としてるわね。そうか？誰かと話すというのは面白い。お主とは一対一で話したこともないしな。良い機会だろう。そうね。さっきからどうしたのだ？何か言いにくいことか？夕飯に間に合うなら待てるが。そうだ。もしよければ、先に我が輩の質問に答えてくれぬか。
Uh-oh.
何？お主にとって、人を好きになるというのはどういうことだ？
Crow asked the same question she had previously asked to Judy and Mio. I found myself thinking back when I'd asked people around me what they would do if they were able to turn back time. It seemed to be the same kind of thing Crow was doing.
人を好きに？お主はご主人のことを今でも好きなのだろう。
Masaki looked directly at Crow and gave a nod so slight that I wouldn't have noticed it at all if I hadn't been closely watching her.
我が輩が見てきた限り、ご主人に最も一般的な、いや、かなり情熱的で、変質的で、わかりやすい行為を示しておったのはお主だ。その気持ちを我が輩に教えてほしい。私の気持ちを。どうして？いろいろあって、我が輩も人間として生きてどうして先輩なの？
Crow was interrupted by Masaki's viciously bitter mumbling. Both her hands trembled, clenched tightly in fists. Crow furrowed her brow.
先輩？ご主人のことか？我が輩の質問と何の関係が？私にとっての全てよ。先輩も恋も友達もバイオリンも家族も何かじゃなくて何もかもが私の全て。全部で私。そうやって切り離せないものが大事なもので、何かを好きになるって気持ちよ。感謝する。お主の言葉が最も心がこもっていると感じることができた。あなたは私の話を聞いていたの？もちろん。どうした？私は先輩を切り離すことのできない大事なものだって言ったのよ。だから分かって。あなたは
Masaki suddenly screamed out and grabbed Crow by the shoulders. Tears were spilling from her eyes. Seeing Masaki's emotions boil over without any warning like that, Crow furrows where she stood. Even if it would have been blown my cover, I was tempted to rush to her aid, but I stopped myself before I could. Why did I stop myself? It took my mind longer to process the answer to that question than my reflexes did. The problem unfolding before me right now was one which inexorably bound to happen sooner or later. And more than anything, I still trusted Masaki.
あなたはずるい。どうして私にそんなことを聞くの？どうしてあなたなの？分かってる。私バカだけど、あなたのせいじゃないのは分かってる。あなたのせいじゃないけど。だけど、あなたがここにいるんだもの。
Masaki's fingers dug into Crow's shirt as she grabbed the poor girl's shoulders in a vice-like grip.
先輩が自分に好意を向けてくれてるってとっくに分かってるはずでしょ。違う、そうじゃない。
Masaki shut her eyes and shook her head. Then, managing to quell her previously disconsolate emotions, she stared directly into Crow's eyes.
人を好きになるってことがどういうことかなんて本当の問題じゃないでしょ。大事なことはあなたがどうして今それを知りたくなったのかよ。何？人の話なんか聞いて回っても世界中のどこを探しても答えは見つからない。それは自分の中にあるのよ。あなたの中に。あなたはもう自分が先輩を好きだって気持ちに気づいているはずよ。だから私はあなたを許せない。先輩の優しさに甘えてるだけだから。でもあなた憎めない。あなたは私だもの。私たちの好きなあの人はそういう人だもの。何があってもあなたの気持ちに先輩は応えてしまう。
Masaki's words trailed off. Crow too had nothing more to say. Masaki gently took her hands off Crow's shoulders, then wiped the tears from her face.
すっきりした。私はみちるや誠先輩や DD 先輩みたいに強くないから言いたいことは言っておきたかったの。それが用事よ。悪かったわね。
As if remaining there was uncomfortable, Masaki said her piece and then quickly ran off. Had it been Michiro or Makoto, they probably would have turned in the direction of where I was hiding as they ran off. But as I expected, Masaki didn't seem to clue into my presence at all. I hadn't even noticed that I was holding my breath until then. I let out a sigh. Even just from watching all that, my fist was clenched nervously. I put my left hand on the balled-up fist of my right, rubbing it until I could uncurl my fingers. I'll need to apologize to Masaki. No, if anything, I needed to be thankful. Thank you, that's what I ought to say to her. There were no other words aside from those I could even think of to saying to her. Then I looked back, in front of me again. Crow was still standing there in astonishment, gazing in the direction of where Masaki had run off to. Her face was expressionless, and I had no idea what she might have been thinking about. I was tempted to call out to her, but I decided to give her a little longer to think. Crow continued to gaze into the distance, and I continued watching her. Time passed by in silence. It was as though I decided to wait until the sun was completely gone, just another long summer's dusk. Then, at the same time, a cheerful voice rang out. I felt a fist being driven into my side. I fell to the ground for reasons I did not understand, and when I hastily tried to pick myself back up, I couldn't move. Ugh! Intense pain ran through the side of my abdomen. What the?
美咲ちゃんも甘い
That perpetually carefree voice. Makoto!
な遊びに来たよ。
Makoto smiled widely. This was bad. I didn't know for sure what was bad, but I knew right away that there definitely was something bad about the situation.
ご主人。
Hearing the commotion, Crow turned her gaze to us. I had to do something, but the sharp pain in my side prevented me from moving. I took her pocket watch and smashed it upon the ground.
あなたはつれい。どうして私にそんなことを聞くの？
Feeling the pain disappear and hearing Misaki screaming, I knew I had rewound time by 5 minutes once more. I was tempted to watch the scene play out all over again, but right now it was more important to take precautions against my future attacker. What the heck was Makoto doing? I didn't understand. Nevertheless, I had to move somewhere else. Making sure that the girls ahead didn't notice me, I headed back in the direction of the park. Makoto! After checking to make sure there was no one else around, I yelled out her name.
あれ、よく気づいたね。
Makoto seemingly appeared out of thin air.
あんなに気になる会話を無視して場所を変えたってことは、もしかしてクロちゃんの時計を使ったのかな？
What is going on?
いや、私5分後のレイ君が体験したことを知らないから答えられないんだけど。
Well, I sure don't know either. You showed up right out of nowhere and whooped my butt.
そういうのも私らしいのかな？
At my accusation, Makoto nodded as if it didn't faze her at all. And then she
と
smiled.
にかく、レイ君、時計ちょうだい。
Huh?
時計。
What are you talking about? I looked at her suspiciously, but the smile on her face while she spoke never wavered.
その時計を持ってるとね、レイ君に不幸なことが起こるから、私にちょうだい。
Hadn't I heard that somewhere before? Isn't that what I said back when you started acting strangely?
事実、あの時とは正反対の状況でしょ？
I guess you're right. I couldn't deny that she had a point, but that was only making me more suspicious. Still, even if that's the case, didn't you say before that you'd support me?
理性が勝ってるうちはって言ったじゃん。
Makoto? Seeing Makoto acting this strangely, I couldn't help but furrow my brow. Wait a minute. I could recall when Makoto acted like this before. Hey, don't tell me.
これなんだ？
Just as she had done somewhere in my memories, Makoto produced a pocket watch in her hand. I reflexively patted my pocket to make sure that I still had my own watch. It was Loki's watch. Why do you have that? Didn't we throw it into the sea? Wait. That's it. I clicked my tongue when I figured it out. We had gone back in time.
そう、今はまだこの時計は私のうちの蔵にあったわけ。
You're doing this again? Why? With the realization of that whole incident coming back to bite me in the butt, a sense of vertigo washed over me.
どんな手段を使ってでも、どんな犠牲を払ってでも、レイ君を助けたい。そのために理性が邪魔だった。邪魔なものは黙らせればいい。それが城之内の流儀だからね。
Makoto swung the watch in front of my face.
単純でしょ？
If Makoto was only operating on raw emotion, then there was nothing left to say to her. How long had she been carrying that watch around by now? Given her attitude, she certainly didn't just find it yesterday. Earlier today, when she was grinning in the classroom, she must have already been feeling the watch's effects. In other words, Makoto must have predicted things would come to this from some point near the beginning of this timeline. Wait a minute. Wouldn't this mean... I put aside the idea that had come into my mind, opting instead to glare back at Makoto as she stood before me. The real question isn't how this happened. I should be really asking why. I found myself asking the same kind of question Misaki had asked of Crow. Why did she have to turn violent against me? And furthermore, why did it have to be Makoto? The smile disappeared from her face.
私だけが他の子たちと違って続きだからだよ。クロちゃんと同じっていうのも皮肉だけど。
What?
私はレイ君に人を好きになる気持ちを教えてもらった。好きな人と離れたくないって子供みたいに泣きわめいて苦しい気持ちを教えてもらった。女の子にしてもらった。それでやっと泣いた分以上の喜びをもらえるって時に今の状況になっちゃったからね。
I see. She really was just like Crow. And the way that she would do anything to accomplish something she was set on made her just like me as well. As a result, Makoto, once the first ally I ever gained, now stood before me as my final enemy. She had come full circle. So, what are you going to do with Crow's watch?
壊す方法を探すか。それがダメなら遠くに捨ててくるよ。誰の手も届かない場所へ。
Far away. You mean the sea again? In the middle of my sentence, Makoto's form disappeared. Teleportation. I was about to start glancing all around me, but that was unnecessary because Makoto was standing right next to me. I felt a tap on my shoulder. What? How'd you teleport without being naked?
脱げないように訓練してたからね。
Makoto cocked her head to the side.
やっぱり時計には力が効かないか。
I took a hasty step backwards. I suddenly remembered Makoto's power not only allowed her to teleport instantly without losing her clothes now, but also allowed her to move small objects that were in her immediate vicinity as well.
じゃあ本当に実力行使しかないね。
Makoto's form disappeared once again. I turned in a full 360-degree circle looking everywhere, but she was nowhere to be seen. This time she hadn't appeared in my blind spot. She must have teleported somewhere distant, so she could watch me until she saw an opening. How can you use your watch as many times as you want, but I can't do that with mine, you cheater? I yelled out in protest, but naturally it was futile. I had already turned back time once, so all I could do was try to keep my guard up and keep moving. Huh? I sensed something behind me, but before I could even turn around, I felt a heavy blow in my side just like last time. I didn't even have time to feel the pain. I felt her reaching for my pocket, so I continued rolling in the direction of her blow, and she had thrown me anything to get away. You're not doing yourself any favors by getting violent with me. I screamed at Makoto as I finally jumped to my feet. There was absolute pity in her eyes.
私だってこんなことしたくないし、手加減も難しいから早めにギブアップしてほしいんだけどな。
Then she disappeared. I grabbed my side and staggered around. I couldn't let myself stay in one place for too long. As long as I kept moving, I would be able to manage even if she jumped me. I could feel pain in my knees and elbows, and I was aware of a number of cuts and bruises on me as well. My one saving grace was how Makoto didn't want this to become a grappling match, combined with the fact that she was trying not to hurt me more than she needed to. Well, I guess I'm screwed now, no matter what I do. This time my legs were swept from under me, and my vision was turned on its head. Even after her sudden leg sweeps, if I rolled as I fell and then jumped to my feet, I could at least stop her from pinning me down. That process repeated itself a few times, and the dizziness I felt from the spinning and tumbling on the ground was starting to feel worse than the actual pain. No one would come if I yelled for help, and even if someone did, Makoto wouldn't show herself to them. Even running all the way back to my house would be futile. Ugh. I can't win. When Makoto first tried to take my watch, I figured she must have been going easy on me because she was overconfident. Now that she hardly seemed overconfident at all, I couldn't think of any way to counter her strength. And after being knocked to the ground so many times, my head was starting to get numb. I wished for an opportunity to catch my breath. My brain needed more oxygen. But I had to keep up with this physically aggressive waltz for just a little longer. I suddenly realized at some point nothing was happening any longer. I hardly knew up from down as I staggered along, but I was just as glad that I could take a moment to breathe.
前にも話したけど、人気映画でさ、
Before I knew it, Makoto was standing right in front of me.
命を捨てても義理を果たそうとする男の人を泣いて止めようとする女の人の気持ちがわからなかったんだよね、今までは。でも今はわかるんだよね。わかっちゃうんだよね。
Makoto, I needed to buy myself some time with idle conversation. Do you really think taking my watch away is going to make me give up on Crow?
まあ、そのくらいじゃ諦めないよね。
If you knew that all along, why'd you have to toy with me like that?
うんにゃ、最終的には腕か足の骨でも折るつもりだから、これで諦めてくれたらラッキーかなって。
Huh? Break my arm?
時計をどうにかできなくても、レイ君を夏が終わるまでどこかに監禁しておけば最悪の可能性はなくせるしね。
Yanderes aren't even in fashion anymore. Makoto disappeared again, and a second later I was on the ground with my arm twisted behind my back. It happened in an instant. My face was being ground into the dirt, and I felt the pain of a knee being driven into my back, so my movement was completely restricted.
ごめんねレイ君。謝りはしておくから。
A chill ran down my spine. I hadn't been taking Makoto's words seriously. I previously believed she was only threatening me to test my resolve. However, the pressure and pain I felt on my shoulder clearly communicated the fact that this was not a joke.
ごめん。
The pain was already making me break out in a cold sweat, so I clenched my teeth in preparation for the real pain that was coming up. I felt the taste of dirt in my mouth and saliva running down my chin as she rubbed my face into the ground. Makoto grabbed my arm like a lever and... A small voice. A childlike voice. Makoto? I quietly muttered with my face still in the dirt. Are you happy now?
全然。
I thought she might be crying, but her voice was still holding steady, only slightly trembling. Anyway, just let me go. Without a word, the pressure on my arm and back disappeared. I had a pain in my neck about 7 times worse than when I slept on it wrong, but Makoto had, as always, paid careful heed not to seriously injure me. I stood up and turned my gaze to her. I tried to call out Makoto's name, but then I was struck silent. Makoto's gaze was directed at the ground as she gnashed her teeth.
なんで演技だって分かったの。時計を見せて瞬間移動も使って自分でも頭に血が上っちゃってて最後は結構本気だったよ。
I wasn't entirely sure. I rubbed my shoulder as I responded. But would you believe me if I told you it's because I trusted you?
レイ君はそんなに諦めがいい性格じゃないと思う。
I guess so. The slightest grin crept onto my face. Just like I understood Makoto, she also understood me. At the very beginning and very end, I almost fell for it. But if you really were just acting on raw emotion, then there were 2 things that wouldn't have seemed right.
何？
If you really only wanted to get rid of Crow's watch instead of all this, you could have just teleported into my room while I was sleeping. So that made you think you really must have been testing my resolve. One thing I didn't expect was how Makoto put so much pressure on my arm that she probably could have broken it for real. Under the influence of Loki's watch, it's harder to determine what is safe.
レイ君がね、 レイ君がクロちゃんの時計の力を使ってなかったら本気で折るつもりだったの。
Oh, I see. If she thought I was still able to rewind time by 5 minutes, she really would have done it. That was quite a disturbing thought. If she really had done it, well, I know well I would have cried uncle on the spot. I wouldn't have been able to just brush that off.
もう一つは
Alright, I wondered for a moment, should I really say this? I felt a little beside myself, but I continued all the same. If you really were acting out of raw emotion, then you wouldn't really be saving me, would you? It'd be more like you'd be trying to claim me for yourself.
そっか。そうだね。そりゃそうだ。駆け落ちしてたね。
Then, in spite of her laughing voice, teardrops fell from Makoto's cheeks to the ground. I wanted to hold her close and kiss her, but if I did that right now, it would be tantamount to treason. So I just stared down at the ground instead, for a long time, a very long
じゃ
time.
あ今日のレイ君にはさよなら。クロちゃんのこと任せたよ。
Makoto said those few words and left. I continued to stand there until the ground upon which her tears had fallen finally dried. Suddenly, I heard Crow's voice in my ears. I had lost track of time. When I looked up, the sun had already dipped below the horizon, and its vivid glimmer was the only light that remained to be seen. Crow. I called her name as a smile formed on my lips. Let's go home.
我が輩は
Expressionless, Crow whispered a few words. However, she stopped in mid-sentence as if she didn't know what she was trying to say herself. I hesitated, unsure if I should ask what she talked to Masaki about.
お腹が空いたな。
And that was what she managed to eventually say. Crow and I were both a bit worn out. Now we can go home, eat dinner, take a bath, and go to sleep. Because there's always tomorrow.
そうだな。
After Crow nodded, I held out my hand for her take. But she did not react to that gesture. She only returned a blank stare. I saw a different emotion in Crow's face and eyes, something that I had never seen in her before. A beautiful and complex emotion comprised of all the various experiences she had gone through. Pulling back my outstretched hand and balling it into a fist, I steeled my resolve one last time. By now I had probably already passed the point of no return. Saki and Makoto had pushed me past that point. Now all that remained was for me to do was act like myself, until the time of that final curtain call arrived. Crow, I love you. I know I said that before, but I'll say those words as many times as I have to. Though even I felt a little bashful about it, scratching my cheek reflexively as I spoke. I love you, Crow. I wasn't certain about this before, but today it became clear as day to me.
我が輩もお主のことを。いや、何を言っておるのだ、お主は。
Crow wore a disconsolate expression.
お主がふざけてでも そのようなことを口にすれば何が起こるかわからぬのだぞ。いや、何が起こるかはもう分かっているだろう。
Well, I guess so.
このような時くらい真剣になれぬのか。
I can. Because I am being serious.
どう
Crow was desperate.
一つしかない命を無駄にする気か。
My one and only life. The time I make of it, I don't want it to be thrown away. I have to be honest with myself. My butt. How many times have I said that before, huh? Even I'm sick of that bullcrap.
分かっておる。
Shaking her head and shutting her eyes tightly, Crow struggled to find the words she wanted to say.
さっきお主を目にした瞬間、喜びを感じた。まるで心の中で花が咲いたような気分になった。
Your expression didn't seem happy at all, though.
喜んだ自分に気づいた瞬間、胸が重くなったのだ。呼吸がうまくできなくなった。苦しくなった。それで我が輩は今ここにいることを実感した。
Crow had to take a second to breathe. Surely, for the very first time with my own eyes, I just witnessed the birth of a truly human girl.
これが人を好きになるということなのか。こんなにも重く苦しいものが。嫌だ。
Crow shut her eyes tightly and gave a soft cry of despair. Tears welled in the corner of her eyes.
いらない。こんなものいらない。いらない。こんなところにいたくない。元に戻りたい。
Crow. I spoke her name again. It seemed as though she hadn't heard me, but I continued my train of thought regardless. Shall we go on a date tomorrow?
お主は頭がおかしくなったか。
It feels more like I've just regained my sanity, actually.
ご主人はどこかずれておるからな。
Crow turned up her nose, hotter, but there was a smile on her face. I'd seen one too many girls crying this evening, as it were, so I finally felt just a little bit relieved to see her like that. Well, I'm just thankful we could go over to that place again for sweets. Sit around, chat a bit. You cool with that?
デートではなく、ただ遊びに行くということなら承知してもよい。
Then it's settled.
パフェでもよいのか。
I'll get you as many as you'd like to have.
そうか。はあ、
Crow looked up at the sky.
涙を流すということは気持ちの良いものだ。
Man, that was intense. I don't know about you guys, but I thought she was gonna break her arm because, you know, I'm just reading text. I can't feel emotions or anything through the story, so I had no way of knowing that she was not serious about breaking her arm. But then she did say she was gonna break her arm if she didn't know we could use the watch still, so that's problematic. Man. A couple times I almost lost it too. My voice almost cracked. What's gonna happen next though? It seems like we reached the climax, but the story is only on chapter 7, and usually the chapters go up to 8 or 9. So there's no telling what's gonna come up next. Stay tuned. As the next episode will be out tomorrow at the same time.